Hello my intelligent friends, welcome to the second lecture on the topic of bills of exchange. 7th chapter, second lecture. This is the last theory lecture, and from the next lecture I'll be talking about practical problems on the topic of bill of exchange. Okay, so in this lecture we are going to consider the important terms which we must remember when we are solving the problem of bill of exchange, and the concept of due date, and what happens in the life of a bill of exchange. Okay, so life of BOE means bill of exchange. In the previous lecture we have understood the concept of bills of exchange and a promissory note, what is the pro forma of the same. We have solved some 6 problems on the pro forma of bill of exchange and promissory note. We have seen that in case of a bill of exchange there are basically two parties. First one is the creditor, second one is the debtor. The creditor issues a written order to the debtor to make the payment of a specific amount on a specific day to a specific person or to his order. When the creditor issues such an order in writing, he becomes a drawer and the debtor becomes a drawee. Then the drawee will accept the bill and give it back to the creditor or to the drawer. Many a times the drawer and the payee may be the same. Payee means the person to whom the amount is required to be paid on the due date, and payer obviously is going to be drawee. So drawee and payer are always same. Drawer and payee may or may not be same because we have already accepted it that bill of exchange can be made payable to a particular person's order. Then we have seen there are 3 different types of bill of exchange. One is after a date, after sight, and on demand, on site, or on presentment. Now based on whatever we have studied in first chapter, let us now go to the first lecture. Let us now go to the second lecture. Okay, so let us consider the different terms which we should remember when we are solving the problem of bill of exchange. This is also important for your objective questions. First one is draft. Now what is the meaning of draft? A bill, that is bill of exchange, before acceptance it is called as a draft. So the moment drawer draws the bill, it is not immediately called as a bill of exchange. It is only after the acceptance that it takes the characteristics, or it takes the character of a bill of exchange. Till that time it is called as a draft. Those of you who are SP students, you may be remembering that when a particular idea is floated in the general meeting or in the committee meeting or board meeting, it is called as a motion, and once it is accepted then it is called as a resolution. Similarly, when the bill is drawn it is called as a draft, and when it is accepted thereafter it will be called as a valid bill of exchange. So first point to be kept in mind is draft. Second one is tenure. Now what is the meaning of tenure? Tenure means the period or the term of the bill upon the completion of which the bill becomes payable. It can be in month or it can be in days, months or days. Obviously if it is an on demand bill or on site bill or on presentment bill, third category bill, then it is not having any tenure, it is having an infinite life. First two types of bill, after date and after site, they are having a specific tenure at the end of which the bill becomes payable. Now here you will find that bill of exchange is little bit different as compared to a check. In case of a check we put a date, and the day on which the check is drawn or the date which is put on the check becomes alive, and then maximum 3 months period is specified by the Banking Regulation Act, within which the check will have to be deposited and it will have to be encashed. After that it becomes a stale check and it cannot be honored. So try to understand, in case of a check, the day on which or the date on which it is prepared, the date which is put on the check, that is the date on which it becomes payable, and then it remains payable for a period of next 3 months. At the end of those 3 months period from the date of drawing the check, from the date which is put on the check, after the end of that period of 3 months, then the check becomes stale check and there is no responsibility on the banker to honor such check. So check payable happens from the day on which it is, from the date on which it is prepared. But in case of a bill of exchange, the date on which it is prepared, it doesn't become payable. it becomes payable upon the completion of its tenure. So let us say I have drawn a check on 1st of January 2021. On the check at the top right hand corner, I have put the date as 1st of January 2021. That means this check is payable by my banker on 1st January 2021 or on 2nd January or on 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th up to 1st March. 1st January to 1st February, 1st February to 1st March and 1st March to 1st April, 1st April. So up to 1st April the check is still considered as a fresh check, live check. But on 1st April or up to 1st April, if the person fails to deposit the check in the bank or to encash it from the bank, then the check becomes automatically dead. It cannot be honored by the banker. So if you are going with the same check on 2nd of April to the bank, banker will say, okay, everything else is perfect. Amount in words, amount in figures is matching, signature is matching, account number is perfect, there is a sufficient balance in the account. Still, the check was drawn on 1st of January. It is 3 months period only. But sir, nothing is mentioned on the check. Although nothing is mentioned on the check, it is implied that the check will have a life of only 3 months. Within that 3 months, you can go at any time to the banker and ask the banker to make the payment of the check. On the other hand, if on 1st of January, I draw a bill of exchange on you, and on the same date, you are accepting the same. So date of drawing and date of acceptance, both of them are same. And on the bill it is mentioned, after 3 months, pay me or my order a sum of rupees something something. In that case, if I come again back to you on 2nd January and ask for the payment, you are not going to make the payment and there is no tension. 3rd January, 4th January, nothing, you are not required to pay anything, because now the tenure is fixed. The tenure is 3 months. That means I can demand payment only upon completion of the period of 3 months. If I don't want the tenure to get completed and I am immediately presenting it today itself, maybe on 1st February I am in urgent need of cash, or maybe on 1st March I am in urgent need of cash, and I am coming to you and I am asking you that please honor the bill. There is no compulsion on you to honor the bill. And if you have not honored the bill, I cannot go to the court of law, because the tenure of the bill is the period up to which the bill is not payable, upon the completion of which the bill becomes payable. In case of a check, the date on which it is drawn, it has become payable and it is going to remain alive for next 3 months. In case of a bill, the period can be anything. The period can be 1 month, period can be 3 months, period can be 5 months, period can be 8 months, 10 months also. That's not a problem. The period will be decided by the drawer and the drawee. You know properly, in the previous lecture we have discussed it. The drawee can also go for qualified acceptance or conditional acceptance, in which the condition can be put about the tenure of the bill. So drawer and drawee will decide what is the tenure of the bill, and upon the completion of that tenure, the bill will become payable. Not on the day on which it is drawn, not on the day on which it is accepted, but upon the completion of tenure, the bill will become payable. Okay, upon the completion of tenure. Tenure means the period or the life of the bill. The check is payable during its life, and upon the completion of life, it is not payable. But bill of exchange is payable not during its life, but upon completion of its life, then it becomes payable. So this is the small difference between a bill of exchange, a promissory note, and that of a check. Check, bill of exchange and promissory note, all three are negotiable instruments, but their payable situation changes. Check is having a different category and bill of exchange and promissory notes are having a different category. Check, from the date of drawing up to the period of 3 months ending from the date of drawing, it is alive and it can be asked for payment. On the other hand, bill of exchange and promissory note, from the date of drawing up to the end of the tenure, you cannot ask for payment. After the tenure is over, then you can ask for payment. Okay. Next one is grace days. Now this is an important concept. In fact, we are going to solve some problems in today's lecture about the concept of grace days. Purposefully I have considered the number 3 there. After completion of term of the bill, after completion of term of the bill, 3 extra days are allowed to the drawee to honor the bill. So let us say the bill is drawn on 1st of January and say it is for 1 month. That means the tenure is 1 month. So from 1st January, 1 month, it becomes 1st of February. On 1st February, if the drawer goes to the drawee and asks him to make the payment, drawee can specify, I want some grace days, I want some support, I want some help. And the help is in the form of giving me some extra time. That extra time is how much extra time? It is provided by the law. Maximum extra time which you can demand is 3 days. It is directly granted by law. So it is not upon the request of the drawee or upon the kind-heartedness of the drawer, but it is by default specified by the law that whatever is the term of the bill, upon completion of it, add 3 more days, then whatever date comes, that will be considered as the due date for the purpose of bill. So upon completion of term of the bill, 3 extra days are allowed to the drawee to honor the bill. And remember, these grace days concept is applicable only for after sight bill or after date bill. It is not applicable for on demand bill. There are 3 types of bill: after date, after sight, on demand, or on site, on presentment. On site, on demand, on presentment are 3 different names of the third category. It is 3 different names of the same type of bill. So totally there are 3 different bills. First one is after sight, second one is after date, and third one is either on site or on demand or on presentment. Any way you can call it. This on site, on demand, on presentment bill, there is no concept of grace days. If the bill is having infinite life and then it is presented to the drawee for payment, drawee cannot say I want grace days more. It is only for after date bill and after sight bill that you can demand grace days, and the grace days is not a period depending upon the kind-heartedness of the drawer or the request of the drawee. It is a period which is defined by law. It is always 3 days. Next point is due date. So we can understand now, because of the concept of grace days, there are going to be 2 different due dates. First one is called as NDD. NDD is nominal due date. Nominal due date is that due date which is before considering grace days. And the second one is LDD. LDD means legal due date. Legal due date is that due date which is after considering grace days. So in my example, the bill was drawn on 1st January. It was for 1 month. So 1st January plus 1 month, that becomes 1st February. 1st February becomes nominal due date. Plus 3 more days, so that becomes 4th February. 4th February becomes legal due date. I hope it is easy to understand. So nominal due date is the due date on which the tenure of the bill is over, but you are yet to add grace days. Grace days are not yet added. On the other hand, from the date of drawing or from the date of acceptance, add to that the tenure, then whatever nominal due date you have arrived at, add to that 3 more extra days, grace days, then whatever date you are going to get, that will be called as legal due date. A bill is payable on legal due date. On nominal due date, no bill is payable. Nominal due date is just an intermediary point, but nobody is going to demand a bill on that date. Even if it is demanded, you may say I am going to pay after 3 more days, and there is no law broken by you. In fact, law has supported you. Law has given you this period of 3 days extra. Okay. Next one is holder. Now what is the meaning of holder? Holder is the person who is in possession of the bill. Possession means he is just holding the bill. So there is a chance that the bill is drawn by me on you on 1st of January, and the bill is for 1 month. So 1st Jan to 1 month, that goes to 1st February. 1st February plus 3 more days, that goes to 4th of February. On 4th February, I am telling my office staff to visit your house or to visit your office and to collect the amount from you. In that case, my office staff is the holder. He is in possession of the bill, nothing more than that. Or I may give the bill as a gift to my friend. 1st January, I drew a bill on you. You accepted and gave it back to me. Then on 10th January, there was a birthday of my friend. I wanted to give him a gift of cash. Then I thought about it, that anyway I am having a bill in my hand, which is going to get honored on 1st of February. So I am telling my friend that I am giving a gift to you. Now remember, my friend does not owe me anything. Still I have given the bill to him. He is going to collect the money from you on 4th of February. He may not give that money to me back at all. In that case, who is he? He is the holder. Holder is the person in possession of the bill. Any person who is in possession of the bill. Or another situation, I have drawn a bill on you on 1st January, and up to 4th February I kept it with myself, and on 4th February I am coming to your house or maybe at your office and I am asking you for the payment. In that case also I am holder. So holder means either the creditor or any other person who probably is not a creditor but still is holding the bill. He is just in possession of the bill. Okay. Next one is holder in due course. Let me just disappear from the screen. You can concentrate on this definition. Holder in due course, generally if nothing is proved separately, then we always consider that holder is equal to holder in due course. But to become holder in due course, you need to fulfill 3 conditions. First one, the person who obtained the negotiable instrument. NI means negotiable instrument. The person who obtained the negotiable instrument for valuable consideration in good faith and before its maturity, then you are called as holder in due course. So you can see the icons also. Holder I am considering a normal icon, whereas holder in due course I am considering an icon with a special crown on his head, because he is a person who has fulfilled 3 qualifications. Number 1, for valuable consideration. So if I give a gift of the bill to my friend, there is no consideration flowing from him to me. It is just a gift given by me. So my friend is not a holder in due course, but my friend is holder. Whereas if I have sold goods to somebody else or somebody else has sold goods to me, so let us take an example. On 1st January I sold goods to you, drew bill on you, you accepted and gave it back to me. Then I purchased goods from my friend, so I should pay him. I don't have cash today. I am interested in not preparing the check also. My friend is saying, okay, I will draw a bill on you. Just like you drew a bill on your student, I will draw a bill on you. Then in that case I am telling him, no, don't draw a bill on me. It is anyway 1 month. It is exactly the same amount. So the bill which I have drawn on my student and he has accepted and given it back to me, I am giving it to you. So on 4th February, you are going to get payment from me. Don't come to my office, don't come to my house, directly go to my student's office or my student's house. Show him the bill. He will honor the bill. My friend is saying, but your student doesn't know me. Why he will honor the bill or why she will honor the bill? Then I'll make him or I'll remind him that this is a negotiable instrument. It can be used for the purpose of negotiation. My student is not going to pay by looking at my face. My student is going to pay by looking at whether I am holding the bill or not. So any person who is holding the bill will get the payment. So in first case, where I gave the bill as a gift to my friend and my friend is collecting it from you, at that time also you are going to make the payment to him because you are seeing the bill. In the second case, when I purchase goods from my friend and I gave him a bill, then he's coming to you, again you are making payment, but not because of anything else. It is only because of one thing, he is holding the bill. So for you, it is not important to know whether the holder is a holder or holder in due course. But law makes some difference about it. What is the basic difference between holder and holder in due course? What are the consequences which are different for both of them? That is not a part of our accounting syllabus. In the next year, if you are going to study the Negotiable Instrument Act, probably it may be there in your SYBCom or maybe the second year of your graduation studies, or it may be in your CA foundation or CS foundation etc. examination. There you will find that you need to study the law of negotiable instruments. There you can understand the consequences. If you are a holder, what are the consequences, and if you are a holder in due course, what are the consequences. For our purpose, for 12th standard, only one thing to be kept in mind: holder means a person who is in possession of the bill, whereas holder in due course means a person who has obtained the bill by fulfilling 3 conditions. Number 1, for valuable consideration. Number 2, he has obtained it in good faith. And number 3, he has obtained it before the maturity of the bill. If these 3 conditions are fulfilled, then the holder is elevated to the position of holder in due course. What are the disadvantages of being just a holder? And what are the advantages of holder in due course? They are legal advantages and disadvantages. They are not accounting advantages and disadvantages. So while studying accounting, we are not going to consider the topic in detail. We are just going to remember the definition. Holder means the person who is in possession of the bill, and holder in due course means the person who has obtained the bill by fulfilling 3 conditions. Number one, he has obtained it for valuable consideration, in good faith, and before its maturity. I hope 6 terms are clear for you to understand. Let us now consider the next part, how the due date is to be calculated. Let me take an example. Let us consider the bill is drawn for 3 months and it is 3 months after date. Bill is drawn for 3 months after date. So let us say date of drawing is 17th of January. What is the date of drawing? 17th of January. Remember, the bill is for a tenure of 3 months, term of 3 months, life of bill is 3 months, and it is starting after date. That means you are not required to consider date of acceptance, but you are required to consider only the date of drawing, and date of drawing is 17th of January. Then on 25th of January it is accepted. On 25th of January it is accepted. But we are going to ignore 25th of January because the bill is after date. If it would have been after sight, I would have surely considered 25th of Jan. Okay. So what is the nominal due date? Nominal due date will be 17th of January plus 3 months. So 17th January to 17th February, 17th February to 17th March, and 17th March to 17th April. So nominal due date becomes 17th of April, and then we are going to consider 3 days extra from 17th of April. That means it will be 20th of April. So remember, we are required to consider, since the bill is after date, it should start from the date of drawing. Then whatever we get will be called as nominal due date, and add to that 3 more days, then what you get is called as legal due date. I hope now it is easy to understand. In the previous slide discussion also, I have mentioned all these different points. And if the same situation, but if I am now changing the nature of the bill, instead of after date, I am calling it as after sight bill, then you can understand that the first arrow mark will not be from date of drawing, but it will be from date of acceptance. You should not consider now 17th of January because the bill is after sight bill. Since it is after sight, in the previous lecture also we have discussed all these things in detail, and in previous slide also I have discussed this point. So we will have to start from what? We will have to start from date of acceptance, not date of drawing. So 25th of January plus 3 months is equal to 25th of April plus 3 more days, that becomes 28th of April. I hope now it is easy to understand how to consider calculation of due date, nominal due date as well as legal due date, when the bill is either after date bill or the bill is after sight bill. Okay. Now comes a very important point. If the legal due date falls on a public holiday, payment is to be made on the preceding working date. What happens? Sometimes it may so happen that the legal due date, I am not talking about nominal due date, I am talking about legal due date. If the legal due date is falling on a public holiday, if the legal due date is falling on a public holiday, in that case we have already granted 3 grace days. After granting 3 grace days, the date which is now getting calculated is falling on a public holiday. So if the drawee says, okay, I'll make payment 1 more day extra, that is after the public holiday is over, that is on the next day after public holiday, then he is getting 4 days grace period, which is not something which the law wants to give. So law is very clear about this thing, that if the legal due date falls on a public holiday, then payment is to be made on the preceding working day. So then in such a situation, the drawee will not get 3 days grace period, but the drawee will get 2 days grace period. Anyway, the duration which was accepted was getting completed on nominal due date itself, but we were gracious and we had given him grace period of 3 days. But after the grace period, the bill is falling due on public holiday. So then we are going to reduce the grace and it will be falling due on the preceding working day. But if suppose, sir, that preceding working day is also legal, is also a public holiday, then again come 1 day earlier. We are required to consider 1 day earlier. What are the public holidays which we are supposed to consider for 12th standard examination? In January, if the legal due date, LDD, is falling on 26th of January, I hope you know what is 26th of January, Republic Day. So 26th of January, if the legal due date is falling, then the legal due date will be considered to be falling 1 day earlier, that is on 25th of Jan. Because the rule is, if the legal due date falls on a public holiday, then payment is to be made on the preceding working day. So 26th Jan will be considered as 25th Jan. In case of August, 15th August, we already know it, that's also our public holiday. What is it? 26th January is Republic Day and 15th of August is, yes, Independence Day. So if the legal due date is falling on 15th of August, then according to law we'll have to go one day earlier. That means it will become 14th of August. So 15th August, if it is falling, then you can't count it on 15th August and you should not consider 16th August. It should be 14th of August. And the last one is in the month of October. In case of October, 2nd October is also counted as a public holiday for the purpose of our 12th standard. What is 2nd October? Yes, Gandhi Jayanti. Okay. So 2nd October will be considered as 1st October, one day earlier. Now there is one more small point, that if the legal due date is not falling on a public holiday, but government on account of any reason has declared any emergency holiday, if government on account of any reason has declared emergency holidays, then what it should be considered, because it was not known that it is going to fall on a public holiday. There was no public holiday. It is at the last moment that the government has declared by way of some notification that tomorrow will be holiday. Now what is to be done? Because now you cannot say one day earlier, because it is declared by the government today that tomorrow is going to be holiday. So the logic of one day earlier is not possible. In such a situation, it will be next working day. So if the let me disappear from the screen. If the emergency public holiday is declared on a legal due date, then payment is to be made on the immediate next working day. So 3 dates remember. 26th जर का डेट आली 26 जानेवारी तर काय कन्सिडर करायची 25 जानेवारी, 15 ऑगस्ट आली तर 14 ऑगस्ट आणि 2nd ऑक्टोबर आली तर 1st ऑक्टोबर. These 3 days you always keep it in mind, and thereafter read the problem carefully. If the legal due date is not falling on any public holiday, legal due date is not falling on any public holiday, but the problem is telling that on the legal due date government has declared any emergency holiday, in that case you should consider one day later. Okay, immediately following working day, immediately succeeding working day. I hope this is clear to all of you now. Let us consider the next point. So I am now considering 3 different examples for the purpose of understanding how to calculate the due date. Let me consider the first example here. Just a minute. Yeah. A bill dated 12th of June 2019 is payable 2 months after date. Dated 12th June 2019, so date of drawing is given as 12th of June 2019, payable 2 months after date. The wording is after date. That means date of acceptance is not important. Anyway, it is not given also, but suppose even if it would have been given, we would have ignored it because the bill is after date bill. Calculate the due date of the bill. So I am just first of all observing certain things. Date of drawing is 12th of June 2019. Acceptance date is not given. Type of bill is after date. Duration of the bill is 2 months. So then I am writing DDMMYY. Date, month and year. Tenure starts on which date? Tenure starts after date. That means it will be from the date of drawing. So 12th of June 2019. What is the tenure? 2 months. So add to that 2 months tenure is equal to 02 in the months column, nothing in date column and nothing in year column. So nominal due date will be 12 plus 0 is equal to 12. 6 plus 2 is equal to 8, and 2019 plus dash is equal to 2019. 12th of August 2019 is acceptable, there is no problem. Add to that 3 grace days, so it becomes 15th of August 2019. But if the legal due date falls on a public holiday, we have just now discussed it, that in the month of August, 15th August will be counted as public holiday. It is public holiday, so we will consider one day earlier. That means the bill is payable on which date? 14th of August 2019, not on 15th August. Okay, so this is the first example of calculation of due date. Let us consider second example. To understand it properly, let me disappear from the screen so it will be easy for you. A bill dated 14th of December 2019, date of drawing is 14 December, is payable 90 days after date. After date, again it is after date. Calculate the due date of the bill. So date of drawing is 14th of February, 14th of December. Date of acceptance is not given. Bill is after date bill and duration is 90 days they have given to us. So let me write in the same format. DDMMYY. Tenure starts on 14th of December 2019. And tenure days are 90 days now. It is not months, so I am not writing anything in months column. I am not writing anything in year column. I am writing in the days column. Now you have to be careful because it is in the last month that the bill is drawn. sorry, the bill is drawn in the last month. That means now probably the year may change. Let us check now. So 14th of December plus 90 days is equal to 104th day of December. But sir, it is impossible. December never has 104 days. We already know December has maximum 31 days. Okay, that means there is some mistake. That means we are supposed to go after 31 days of December. We should go again ahead. If December would have got 104 days, then we would have stopped at that point of time. But December is already having only 31 days. Okay, so let us reduce 31 days of December and then see what month it will come. If you have completed December and then you have gone ahead, that means you are in the month of January. So it must be 73rd day of January 2020. How 2020? Because now you have already gone in the next year. But sir, January also does not have 73 days. Okay, that means we are crossing 31 days of January and then we are going ahead. Still our journey is not complete. Okay, so let me consider that I am going to cross 31 days of January. So I am deducting less total days of January are 31. So 73 minus 31, that becomes 42, that is 42nd February 2020, because after 31 days of January are crossed, still we'll have to cross 42 days of February. But sir, February cannot have 42 days. February has either 28 days or 29 days because of the concept of leap year, and 2020 is a leap year. Okay, that means in this year February must have got 29 days. How much distance we wanted to still walk? We wanted to walk the distance of 42 days, but February could give us only 29 days. So I'm removing 29 days of February and I'm saying, okay, I cannot stop here. I need to go ahead. I need 13 more days to complete my journey. So our date becomes 13th of January 2020, 13th of March 2020. 13th of March 2020 is a possible date. March month is having 31 days and this is only 13th date. That means our journey can stop here. There is no need for us to go across the month of March. We can stop in the month of March on 13th of March. However, this is a nominal due date, so we should add grace days. That becomes 13 plus 3. That's why our legal due date will be 16th of March 2020, and 16th of March 2020 is not a public holiday, so there is no need for us to go one day early. We can continue to consider that the legal due date is 16th of March 2020. I hope it is easy for you to understand. If we start on 14th of December and we add 90 days, that means from the month of December, totally 104 days of December we want to travel. But December will say, sorry, I cannot give you 104 days, I can give you only 31 days. So if you want to travel 104 days, please go ahead to my next month. So we'll say, okay, I'll go to 73 days of January. But January says, sorry, your hunger is very big. I am having only 31 days for you. So you take 31 days and please go ahead. So we can't stop in January. We are going ahead. Then we are telling to February that I want 42 days. February is saying, sir, this is a leap year. I am ready to provide you some days, but I can't provide you 42 days. Maximum number of days I can provide are 29. I'll say, okay, let me take 29 days and I'll go ahead. Now I need still more 13 days and March can surely give me 13 more days. So my nominal due date is 13th of March. But then nominal due date should be always increased by 3 days of grace. That becomes 16th of March. That is my legal due date, which is not falling on a public holiday. That's why it can continue as it is. I hope it is clear to all of you. Okay, so this is a very good method of calculating the due date. Now one more problem. This is possible to be solved in an easy method also, but let me consider our complete step-by-step method. Just by using your hands you can quickly calculate the answer. I know that particular thing, but I want you to understand how the step-by-step working actually happens. So the transaction is, a bill is dated on 27th of December 2019. It is payable 2 months after sight. After sight, be careful, after sight. It was accepted on 31st December. So now we can ignore 27th of December. We are going to consider only 31st of December. Calculated due date of the bill. So date of drawing is 27th of December. Acceptance is 31st of December. Type of bill is after sight. Duration is 2 months. So the tenure is starting on not 27th of December, but it will start on 31st of December. Tenure starts on 31st of December. Add to that 2 months. Now nothing is in date column, nothing is in year column, it is in months column. But obviously you are standing on the last day of the year. So those 2 months cannot be in the same year. You will have to consider the next month. So we are going to specify 31 plus 0 is equal to 31. 12 plus 2 is equal to 14. So this will become 31 14 2019. So if The year of 2019 gives us 14 months, then 14th month 31st day can be our due date. But year of 2019 will say sorry, no year in this life is going to have 14 months. The every year is always divided in 12 months. So I can give you only 12 months. I'll say okay. That means I'll specify 31/4 minus 12 months, that goes to 31/2/2020, because now I'll have to go to the next year. 31/2/2020. But February we will specify, sorry sir, I can give you 31 days. My maximum number of days are only 29. So I'll consider 29 as my nominal due date. Now some students may specify, sir, you go please 2 days extra because you wanted 31 days. We never wanted days here, we always wanted months here. Since the months are required to be considered, that's why I'm not saying let me go to 2nd March. I'm accepting that particular thing, that February can give me only 29 days, so I'm stopping at 29 days. In the previous problem, it was the duration given in days. That's why I was dancing, or I was working, I was calculating on the column of days. Whereas take the case of this particular situation, here the column is of months, because the duration is given in months. Duration is given in months. So I'll specify 31st of December plus 2 months. That means 31st of December to 31st of January and 31st of January to 29th of February. I hope it is clear to understand. So although it is 31st of February, don't consider therefore it is 2nd of March. It will be counted as 29th of February because the duration is not given in days. If the duration would have been in days, I would have said yes, let me go to 2nd of March. But the duration is in months. That's why I'm not going to 2nd of March. I'm stopping at 29th of February itself, because I wanted to complete only 2 months, not 3 months. Okay, so 29th of February 2020, add to that 3 days grace, that is anyway compulsory by law. So 29 plus 3, that goes to 32/2/2020. But again February cannot give 32 days, so February is giving 29 days. That means we are going to go for 3 days extra. That goes to legal due date 3rd of March 2020, which is not a public holiday. That means bill is payable on 3rd of March 2020. Now some students may say, sir, it's a very lengthy calculation. We can have very simple calculation. 27 December to be ignored because it is bill after sight. 31st December to be considered because it is bill after sight. So 31st December plus 2 months. So 31st December to 31st Jan. 31st Jan to 29 February. 29 February plus 3 days. That means 3rd of March. So one can say that, sir, why are you making so long calculation? Yes, in examination this such a long calculation is not necessary. I just showed you how the logic works. When the period is given in days, then the treatment is different, and when the period is given in months, then the treatment is different. In 12th standard you don't have the topic of average due date in your syllabus, but if you are in the next studies of maybe chartered accountancy or some other courses which you may go for, you may have the topic of average due date. There this logic becomes very, very important. So I have just prepared you for the higher level examination also. Okay, otherwise in examination for 12th standard you can very easily specify 31st of December plus 2 months, that is equal to 29th of February. 29th of February plus 3 days is equal to 3rd of March. It can be orally calculated also. Oral calculations are to be avoided when it comes to date, duration given in days. Okay, if the duration is given in days, then it is better to always calculate this tabular manner. If the duration is in months, then yes, it is possible for you to calculate even orally. I hope it is easy for you to understand. So I have completed now the concept of due date also. Okay, important terms we have completed. In important terms, yes, I had seen one particular thing. I hope you have seen this point here. Yes, the numbers 1, 2, 3 and then 6, 5, 4 I have written. Okay, so just remember that particular thing. Ultimately we are required to keep the definitions in mind. So let me now consider next one. These points are already discussed by us. What is the position of preceding days and earlier day, next day, and we have solved the problems also. Okay, now we know already types of bill: after date, after sight and on demand. But that is one type of classification. There are some other classifications also possible. Now what is the meaning of other classifications? Let us take an example. In your class, if I want to identify how to classify the students who are sitting in the class, or in our this YouTube lecture, how many students are watching this lecture? Let us say 1000 students have watched this lecture, or maybe 2000 students have watched this lecture. Then I can classify the students on the basis of their gender first, and I can specify maybe there are 600 girls who have watched this video and 400 boys who has watched this video, or maybe there are 600 girls who has watched this video and 600 boys who has watched this video. Possible. Or maybe 1 lakh girls has watched this video and 1 lakh boys have watched the video. Great. So this is classification on the basis of gender. But I can also make a classification on the basis of maybe your location. How many students from Pune have watched the video? How many students from Mumbai has watched the video? How many students from Aurangabad? How many students from maybe Solapur? Or how many students from Kolhapur? How many students from maybe Dhule? Or how many students from Akola? How many students from some other place? I can go on considering classification again on the basis of number 1 gender, number 2 location, or number 3 I can also consider classification on the basis of repetitive students. How many students find that this lecture is important for me? Let me watch it for 2 times, 3 times, etc. So the same students are now classified on the basis of gender or on the basis of their location, from where they are watching the video, or from their behavior, whether they are watching the video in a repetitive manner, or once they have seen the video they have understood the thing and then they are going for the next video. So number of students will remain same, maybe 2 lakh, maybe 3 lakh, maybe 4 lakh. But the classification will change. Same is the case here. We have considered types of bill on the basis of how the tenure is to be calculated. But there are some other types also which can be considered of the same bills. So types of bill can be considered on 3 different basis. First one, on the basis of purpose of the bill. Second one, on the basis of place of the bill. And third one, on the basis of period of the bill. The period of the bill classification is already done by us. That is called as after date, after site, or on site. And I hope you remember, on site is also having 2 different extra names, on presentment or on demand. Okay. So the third one is known to us. Period. On the basis of period, bills can be classified into 3 different types: after date, after site, and on site. But the first one and second one we have not seen. Let us check them now. According to purpose, the bill can be considered as either a trade bill or an accommodation bill. When the bill is used to settle normal trade transactions, I have bought goods from you, I have bought services from you, I have availed services from you, and then I need to pay for the same. I am not using cash, I am not using check, I am using bill of exchange. It will be called as trade bill. On the other hand, nothing is sold by me, nothing is sold by you. Neither you owe me anything nor I owe you anything. Still, I am drawing a bill on you, which you are accepting and giving it back to me so that I can use it for the purpose of settling other transactions. Now this is considered as accommodation bills. एक दूसऱ्याला मदत करण्यासाठीचं bill. Nobody was anybody's debtor, nobody was anybody's creditor. But both the parties were in need of funds, or one of the party was in need of funds. So to accommodate, to adjust the financial needs of the parties involved, if the bill is drawn, it is called as accommodation bill. Now in 12th standard syllabus, the topic of accounting for accommodation of bill is not in their syllabus. But yes, if you go ahead in the studies of accountancy, this topic you will meet: how to record the journal entries or the ledger accounts of accommodation bill. At this moment, just remember this particular definition for the purpose of objective questions, not practical question. Trade bills, it is to settle the normal trade transactions, and to accommodate the financial needs of the parties involved, it is called as accommodation bill. Next one is on the basis of place, inland bill and foreign bill. A bill where both the parties are located in the same country and is payable in the same country. So the the place of origin and the place of payment is in the same country. We'll call it as inland bill. And foreign bill, a bill is drawn in one country but it is made payable in another country. In that case, it is called as a foreign bill. So drawn in India but payable outside India, or drawn outside India but payable in India, it will be considered as, or maybe drawn outside India as well as payable also outside India, it will be called as foreign bill. Drawn in one country and made payable in another country, it will be called as a foreign bill. And third classification or third category of the bills will be either after date or after site or on site. After date and after site are having finite life. That finite life starts in case of after date bill from the date of drawing the bill. In case of after site bill, from the date of acceptance of the bill. And if the bill is on site, then it is having infinite life. It can be continued changing hands just like a currency note. In fact, if you have seen your currency note, then you will understand what I am speaking. Currency note is also having infinite life, in which it is mentioned, I promise to pay the bearer a sum of rupees so and so. So actually speaking, when you are giving a 100 rupee note to somebody else, in reality you are not giving money to that person, but you are giving him the promise given to you by the governor of RBI that if demanded he will pay 100 rupees. when you are looking at your currency note, you will find it in small font size, one in Hindi and one in English. Sentence is written, I promise to pay the bearer. मैं धारक को इतना रुपया अदा करने का वचन देता हूँ. 100 रुपया, 500 रुपया, 2000 रुपया, जो अमाउंट का आपका नोट रहेगा उसके हिसाब से उसका हिंदी सेंटेंस रहेगा. और इंग्लिश में लिखा रहेगा, आई प्रॉमिस टू पे द बेरर सम ऑफ रुपीज 10, 50, 100 और मे बी 500 or maybe 2000 as the case may be. So in reality, when we are giving money, we are actually not giving money, but we are giving a promise which is given to us by the governor of RBI that if you present this note to him, he will pay money. So actually speaking, what I should have done, if I am purchasing goods from you and I should pay you money, in reality I should go to RBI ka governor and I should show him the 100 rupee note and I should tell him that since you have promised that you will pay, now please pay me 100 rupees so that I can pay for the goods which I have purchased. But then I remember that the note which is prepared by the RBI governor, it says I promise to pay the bearer. So there is no need for me to go there and collect the money because the note is not in my name. The note is carrying the name of a bearer. Anybody who comes, I am ready to pay. So I am telling the supplier that I am buying goods from you. I am having this 100 rupee note which is a promise of RBI governor. No, I am not going to RBI governor. I am giving this note to you. If you want, you can go and you can collect the money from him. That fellow also will transfer it to somebody else. It will just go on changing hands. Nobody will actually go to the RBI governor for the purpose of demanding honor of that promissory note. It is having infinite life. Similarly, when you create on-site bill, on-demand bill, on-presentment bill, you are creating almost like a currency note. But remember, it is not governed by the RBI Act. It is governed by the Negotiable Instrument Act. So if you create on-site bill, it is as good as you creating currency note on which you are having your signature. I hope it is easy to understand. It is having infinite life. It is payable only upon being presented to the drawee for payment. It has no grace days. It has no grace days that we have already seen. Okay, so these are the types of bill on the basis of purpose, trade and accommodation, on the basis of place, inland and foreign, on the basis of period, after date, after site, on site. On site is a very beautiful thing. The law has given you the capacity to create your own promissory note having infinite life or your own bill of exchange having infinite life. I hope it is easy to understand. Okay, now let us consider what happens in the life of a bill of exchange. I am the drawer. I have drawn a bill on you. I have given it to the drawee. Drawee is supposed to accept it and give it back to me. Bill of exchange pro forma, I hope you everybody remembers, in which in the center bottom center you write accepted and then you put your signature and name and then you put the date of acceptance. So after the acceptance by the drawee, it is required to be returned back to the drawer. Then what can happen to the bill once it has again come back to the drawer after it is being accepted by the drawee? What can happen? What are the different possibilities which can be happening? So let me consider there is a bill of exchange. Okay, a bill of exchange is created. Then any of these four things can happen in the life of a bill of exchange. Any of these four things, all of these four, any of these four, any one of them. First one, retained by the drawer. First one is retained by the drawer. When the drawer decides to retain the bill with himself till the due date, whenever the due date is going to come, maybe after date or after set, whatever is, he is going to retain it with himself, and then on the due date the drawer himself goes to the drawee, demands the payment. It will be considered as a bill which was drawn by the drawer, accepted by the drawee, given to the drawer, drawer kept it with himself up to the due date. On the due date, drawer went back to the drawee, asked him for the payment, drawee honored the bill. This is called as the first situation, retained by the drawer. So this bill is not having some ups and downs. It is not changing hands. It changed hand only once. Drawer gave it to the drawee, drawee accepted, gave it back to the drawer. Then it is remaining in the drawer, in the cupboard, or maybe in the cash box of the drawer up to the due date. Thereafter it is not changing hands. Although it is a negotiable instrument, it could have been used for negotiations ahead, but it was not used. It was retained by the drawer, kept by the drawer with himself, and on the due date drawer demanded the money for the same from the drawee. Second one is called as discounted with the bank. So bill of exchange can be discounted with the bank. So drawer drew the bill, gave it to the drawee. Drawee signed it by using the word accepted, and after putting the date of acceptance, the drawee is giving it back to the drawer. Drawer is keeping it in his own cupboard or maybe in his cash box. The bill is for 5 months. 1 month has lapsed. Drawer is in urgent need of money. Drawer makes a phone call to the drawee and he asks him, drawee, the bill was drawn for 5 months. Only 1 month has lapsed. 4 months are remaining, but I am in need of money. Could you please pay? Urgency hai. Drawee may say, sorry, I cannot pay because the bill is for 4 months. Bill becomes payable only upon completion of tenure, not during the tenure. Check is during the period of 3 months. But bill of exchange is after the tenure is complete. So don't demand anything. I will pay surely, but I will pay after the tenure is complete. Let 5 months complete completely. Only 1 month is completed just now. 4 more months are remaining. At the end of 4th month, you come to me, I will pay. But today I don't have money. Drawer is in difficulty now. Drawee has refused to pay. Drawer cannot take any legal action because the drawer himself has drawn the bill 4 months after date. Pay me or my order a sum of rupees so and so. So drawer himself has given the instruction first. Now he wants to withdraw the instruction. Drawee will say, sorry, I am not going to change the instruction now. I will honor the instruction, but only after 5 months. 1 month is already over, 4 months are pending. Wait for 4 months. Once the 4 months period will be over extra, thereafter I will be paying the bill. Drawer cannot take any legal action. Drawer is in urgent need of money. How to solve this situation? Drawee wants to pay, but not now. Drawee wants to pay after 4 more months. Simple situation. Drawer will go to the bank. Drawer will go to the bank and he will sell the bill to the bank. Bank is always having lot of money. So drawer is telling the bank that you are having money. I am selling this bill to you. You give cash to me today itself. Bank will ask, then what we will get? How will I get the cash back? Drawer will tell the bank that you give the cash to me today itself. Wait for 4 months. At the end of 4 months, you please go to the drawee. Ask for him the payment and he will honor, because he doesn't pay by looking at face. He pays by looking at the bill. If you are holding the bill, he will pay the bill to you. You are a holder in due course because you have obtained it for valuable consideration. Consideration is what you have paid me today itself. So if the bill is of rupees 10,000 drawn by the drawer on the drawee for 5 months, after 1 month the drawer is in urgent need of money. Drawee refuses to pay. Drawer goes to the bank and asks the bank, could you give me 10,000? Bank is giving him 10,000. After 4 months, bank will go to the drawee and bank will demand 10,000. Now in this situation, you can understand that I got 10,000 after the completion of first month itself. Drawee paid 10,000 after the completion of all 5 months. So in between 4 months, the money was used by me by taking it from the bank. Bank gave me 10,000, bank got 10,000. So in reality, bank is the suffering person. That bank's money was out of bank's locker for 4 months. It came to me and thereafter bank got the money. So I sold the goods, you got the goods. I got the money. So both of us are happy. Bank got nothing. Bank gave me 10,000. Bank got 10,000. Bank got nothing. That is not going to happen. So banker will specify, okay, we are ready to go for discounting the bill. But in that case, at the end of first month, when the drawer is demanding money from the bank, bank will give him money but may not give him 10,000. Bank may give him say 9,900 or say 9,950. The rate of interest will be told by the bank for those 4 months period when the money of the bank is going to be used by the drawer. The drawer is supposed to pay interest, but bank is not going to specify I will pay you 10,000, you pay me interest. Bank will specify let me deduct the interest first. It is therefore called as interest or also called as discount. That's why it is called as discounted with the bank. So bank is going to give him not 10,000 rupees, bank is going to give him say 9,900 rupees. And on the due date, banker will go to the drawee. drawee will pay 10,000. So now you can visualize what has happened. I sold goods, you got goods. You paid money to the banker 10,000. So you got goods of rupees 10,000 and you paid money of rupees 10,000. You are happy. I sold goods of rupees 10,000, but I was in urgent need of cash. So I went to the banker. I told the banker that the drawee will pay after 5 months, out of which 1 month is already over. 4 months are pending, but I'm in urgent need of cash. Please give me cash. Banker gave me 9,950. And afterwards banker got 10,000 rupees back. So banker got 50 rupees interest. But this interest will be considered as discount because it is not paid after the period is over. It is deducted at the beginning of the transaction itself. That's what is called as discount. So how to define discounting? When the drawer is selling the bill to the banker even before the due date and getting cash immediately. The day on which he discounts the bill, he immediately gets the cash. In this case, on the due date, banker will ask for payment from the drawee. And it is obvious that banker will not pay full money to the drawer. Banker will pay the bill amount minus discount amount. The net amount will be given to the drawer, but banker will collect full amount. I hope it is clear to understand. Banker will pay full amount of bill minus discount to the drawer today, and banker will get full amount of bill from the drawee on the due date. So banker will automatically get the difference as his income. Okay, so second situation which can happen in the life of a bill is that the drawer may discount the bill with the banker, that is selling the bill to the bank. Third one is called as send to bank for collection. Now what is the meaning of send to bank for collection? Now here remember my numbers are same, 1 2 3 4. It's not ulta sulta numbers. It is bill sent to bank for collection. Now I am a big trader. I am dealing in lot of different transactions, lot of different parties, and every party gives me bill of exchange. I need to keep track of all these different things. Which party gave bill on which particular date, and then what is the due date, what is the tenure. On the due date I am supposed to either go personally to the party's house or maybe to the party's office and collect the bill, or I may have to send different employees for collecting the bill. It's a very difficult task, lengthy task. It will require a lot of traveling and other things also, and I am having very few loyal employees whom I can entrust by saying that take this bill, go to the drawee, collect the cash and bring it back. So I am afraid of this situation. So what I am doing, I am going to the banker. Banker is welcoming me in his cabin. I am showing him the bill. He is very happy. I am telling him these are the bills. Banker is saying okay, I understand what I'm supposed to do. I'll give you cash immediately. I will tell the banker, no, I don't want any cash just now. I am not in urgent need of cash. If I would have been in urgent need of cash, then I would have considered second alternative. I would have gone to the same banker and I would have asked him to make the payment today itself. Now in this situation, third situation, I am not in urgent need of cash. I am having one problem that I am having multiple bills which are falling due on different dates and I am required to collect it from different drawees. I am forgetting all these different transactions. I don't have trustworthy staff who can collect it on my behalf and give the cash back to me. So what I am doing, I am giving it to the banker. I am asking the banker that keep these bills with you. Keep a record on which date I have given you which bills and what is the due date of the bill. On the due date, you please collect it directly from the drawee and directly get it deposited in my bank account. Banker is saying, sir, I am ready to give you cash now. On the due date I will get it from drawee. No, I don't want cash now. I am not in urgent need of money. I am not in second category. I am in the third category. My business is flush with funds. I don't want any urgent cash. I just want you to take this administration work of going to the drawee's place, collecting money and depositing it in my bank account. You do it directly. You are my bank. You only do it. So here I am going to the bank, but it is not going to the bank for selling the bill. It is going to the bank to just deliver the bill and ask the banker to collect it on my behalf. So here the drawer may send the bill to the banker and ask the banker to collect it on his behalf on the due date. In this case, drawer gets money only on due date, not today. In case of discounting of a bill, drawer gets cash immediately and obviously he gets smaller cash, lesser cash. In case of bill sent to bank for collection, drawer does not get immediate cash. drawer is going to get the money only if it is going to be paid by the drawee to the banker. So it may so happen that today I'm going to the bank and I'm sending the bill to bank for collection, not selling the bill. Then banker is accepting the bill, banker is keeping it in his loan locker, but banker is not going to give any money to me today. He will wait for the due date. On due date he will go to the drawee, will collect the money from the drawee, and then he will deposit in my bank account. This is called as bill sent to bank for collection. Since I do not get money early, since I am going to get money on due date, there is no question of discount. Bank may charge some nominal amount of charges for that. That is called as bank collection charges, but they are not deducted from the amount of bill. They are separately charged, just like your checkbook charges or maybe some other things. I hope it is easy to understand. Discounting is different and sent to bank for collection is different. In both the cases we are dealing with the bank, but in the first case we are asking the bank, please give me money today itself. In the second case we are asking the bank, don't give me money today, give me the money only if it is paid by the drawee, otherwise no problem. So in the first case we are going to use the funds of the bank, that means we'll have to pay interest which the bank is going to deduct immediately and going to give us net amount. That's why it is called as discounting. That interest is called as discount. On the other hand, sent to bank for collection is a different situation. Here you will find that I am going to the bank, I am not asking the bank to part away its own money and give it to me. I am telling the bank, you just work as my administrative agent. You are going to go and collect the bill from my drawee on the due date, not today. No need to pay me today. So no question of interest, that means no question of discount. But yes, bank may charge some collection charges. That's a nominal amount, don't worry about the same. Okay. And the last one is called as endorse. This is the most fascinating part of bill of exchange, because bill of exchange is a negotiable instrument. That means it can be used for the purpose of negotiations. It can be used for the purpose of settling the transactions. So it can be endorsed. That means it can be transferred to somebody else. Just like in the first example, if you remember today, I had given that example that I sold the goods to you, I drew a bill on you, you accepted it, gave it back to me. Then I purchased some goods from my friend. He was going to draw a bill on me. I told him, please don't draw any bill on me. There is one bill accepted by my student already lying in my cupboard, in my cash box. Let me give that bill to you. On the due date, you go to the student's house and collect the money from his or her house. He will pay or she will pay. Now in this case, this situation, not the first one is bill drawn. Second one is now I am giving it to my friend from whom I purchase goods. This is called as endorsement of a bill. Endorsement means transfer of a bill. Drawer may transfer the bill in favor of any other third party. In this case, on the due date, such third party can ask for payment from the drawee. Now the drawer cannot ask for payment. I hope it is clear to understand. Okay. So we have just now considered what happens during the life. Any of the four things can happen. What are the four things? Quickly let us recap. First one, retained. Second one, discounted. Third one, sent to bank for collection. Or fourth one, endorse. It's obvious that all the four things cannot happen at the same time. Either first or second or third or fourth. Either retained or discounted or sent to bank for collection or endorsed. This is happening when the bill is alive, when the tenure is not yet complete, when the tenure is going on. Now once the tenure is over, now there is a nominal due date. Add to that 3 days, then there is a legal due date. What will happen on due date? What can happen on due date? So the due date has come, due date has arrived, we are standing on due date. Then what can happen? Either the drawer himself or the banker or the endorsee, the person to whom we have endorsed the bill, he may go to the drawee's place and can demand the bill. Drawee may either honor the bill. What is the meaning of honor? When the drawee fulfills his commitment by paying the bill, it is called as honoring the bill. When the drawee fulfills his commitment by honoring the bill, it is called as by paying the bill, it is called as honoring the bill. So it's a happy moment, dancing moment. The commitment was given, commitment is fulfilled. On the due date, bill can be honored. Or on the due date, there is a chance that drawee unfortunately may not have sufficient cash. If he does not have sufficient cash, then he may specify, yes, I had given a promise that 4 months after date I am going to pay, and 4 months have lapsed today, plus 3 more days grace also is complete, but I'm sorry, I don't have money. This is called as dishonor. When the drawee fails to fulfill his commitment to pay the bill, it is called as dishonoring the bill. Okay, when the drawee fails to fulfill his commitment to pay the bill, it is called as dishonoring the bill. Let me disappear from the screen, otherwise it may appear that I am dishonoring the bill. I am not dishonoring the bill. If it is honor, then I am considering upward arrow. If it is dishonor, then I am considering the downward arrow. Okay, dishonor is breaking of the promise, whereas honor is fulfilling the promise. On the due date, if the promise is fulfilled by making payment, we will also call it as the bill is honored, or the promise is broken. In that case, we will call it as the bill is dishonored. Okay. Now let us try to understand what are the different terms which will have to be kept in mind by us when it comes to honor or when it comes to dishonor. If it so happens, in case of honor, there are two different situations. In case of honor, there are two different situations. Either the bill is honored by way of retirement, or the bill is honored by way of honoring, nothing more than that. Now, what is the meaning of retirement, or what is the meaning of normal honor? How they are different things from each other. Retirement, when the bill is honored before the due date. So on the due date, either the drawer or the banker to whom the bill was discounted, or the banker to whom the bill was sent to bank for collection, or the endorsee to whom the bill was endorsed, they were going to go to the drawee's place and they were going to demand money from the drawee, and then the drawee was going to make payment to them. But if it so happens that drawee on his own, although nobody has demanded anything, although due date is yet to arrive, due date is yet to come, there is no yet due date is far away, still the drawee, since he is having extra cash, he is approaching the drawer on his own and is requesting the drawer that let us cancel the bill, I am retiring the bill. Before the term of the bill is over, I am retiring the bill, I am honoring the bill, I am making the payment. So here it is honor only. Here you will find that payment is made. But payment is made even before due date. Now you already know this particular thing. In 11th standard also you have studied this. When a person makes early payment, when a person makes payment early than its due date, then he can demand discount. This discount is called as rebate. So how much amount to be paid by the drawee in such situation? If the drawee on his own is ready to pay the entire amount of bill even before its due date, then the drawee may demand discount. This discount is not called as cash discount or trade discount, etc., but this is called as rebate. So the final amount will be equal to how much amount should be paid by the drawee? It will be called as bill amount minus rebate. Now some of you may have a question, very intelligent students, that sir, the bill is sent to bank for collection, or the bill is sold to the bank, discounted with the bank. We already got the money from the bank. 5 months bill, 1 month over, I sold it to the bank, I got the money from the bank, and then 2 more months got over, so totally 3 months are over. Bill was of 5 months. First month end, I sold it to the banker. 2 months again lapsed ahead. So totally 3 months are over. Now the drawee is approaching me again and is telling me that sir, I want to pay the bill early. So you are going to get the money twice. First you got the money from the banker at the time of discounting. Second you are getting money at the time of retirement. So sir, this is a dangerous thing. Don't worry. How to handle this situation we are going to see in the next lecture, maybe in the series of next lectures. In that case, what is to happen with the banker? Okay, drawee will make the payment, but drawee will ask, sir, show me the bill, let us cancel that bill. And the bill is not with me now, bill is with the banker. So drawee will understand that the bill is not with me, it is already sold by me. Then I am supposed to make the payment to the banker, get the bill from the bank, and then cancel it, and then show it to the drawee that it is cancelled. Then only drawee will keep quiet. So don't worry. If the bill is already endorsed by me, thereafter if the drawee is retiring the bill, still I am supposed to make payment to the endorsee. And the drawee will ensure that the payment is made, because when the drawee makes payment, he wants the bill to get cancelled, honored. And that for that purpose I need to have that physical copy of the bill with me. I hope it is easy for you to understand. Okay. Next one is, if the payment is made not before the due date, but it is made on the due date. So drawee is coming at the end of 5th month, or drawee is not coming, but we are going to his house and then he is honoring the bill. it is called as normal honor. Is any discount available? No, because you are making payment on the due date, not before. Since it is not before, that means it is going to be normal amount. Whatever is the amount of bill, that you will have to pay. You can't get any discount, so final amount is bill amount. We have considered now the situation of honoring. Let us now consider the situation of dishonoring. Dishonor, it may so happen that the bill is drawn, say for 5 months. 1 month is over. Drawer is not in need of cash. Just example. Drawer is not in need of cash. 2nd month is over. Drawer is not in need of cash. So drawer is not selling the bill. Drawer has not yet endorsed the bill. Bill is with drawer only. 3rd month is over. 4th month is over. Now the drawee has understood that only 1 month is pending. Thereafter the drawer will come, or maybe the banker will come for the purpose of asking the payment. And unfortunately, drawee is foreseeing, he is predicting that probably when the due date will be, when the bill will be due on the due date, legal due date, he will not have sufficient cash. If he will not have sufficient cash, then the person who is demanding the money on the due date obviously will feel angry and he will go to the court of law. If the case is started against the drawee, then obviously the reputation, goodwill, creditworthiness of the drawee will be totally gone. Then it will be difficult for the drawee afterwards to again do the transaction with the help of bill of exchange, or even to get certain other benefits from bankers like loans, etc. Because now the creditworthiness of the drawee has gone down. So the drawee at the end of 4th month on his own approaches the drawer and makes a request on the due date or before the due date. Now what is happening? Before the due date, drawee on his own is approaching the drawer and asking him, sir, I know that the bill was of 5 months. I know that 4 months are over. I know 1 month is still pending. I know at the end of 1 month plus 3 more days, grace days, you will be coming to my house and you will be demanding the money. But I also know that after 1 month and 3 more days, I will not have necessary cash. In that case, I'll have to cancel the bill. I'll have to dishonor the bill. If I'll dishonor the bill, then my creditworthiness will be gone. Sir, please do me a favor. The bill was of rupees 10,000. Today I am having rupees 5,000 with me, or today I am having rupees 4,000 with me. Please accept this 4,000 rupees. Please accept this 4,000 rupees and cancel the old bill. Drawer will be shocked. What do you mean? Are you expecting me to give a discount of 6,000? That is impossible. 10,000 rupees bill, 4,000 you are asking me to pay or accept, and then you are saying that the old bill should be cancelled. Instead of 10,000 you are paying only rupees 4,000 and you are expecting me to cancel the old bill. That means you are expecting a discount of 6,000. It is impossible. Drawee will specify, no, I don't want discount of rupees 6,000. I am telling you something different. I am asking you to first of all accept part payment 4,000. Cancel the old bill. Remaining amount is still pending 6,000. Please give me 5 months extra period. In this extra 5 months period, I can generate 6,000 rupees and I will pay you upon the due date of the second bill. So first bill will be cancelled, part payment will be made, and for the remaining amount, second bill will be drawn and second bill will be accepted, given back to the drawer. Drawer will wait for the term or tenure of the second bill. Upon the completion of the tenure of second bill, he will ask the money from the drawee. So drawee got benefit, drawer got benefit, and most important, nobody's credit was lost, nobody's goodwill is diminished. But drawer will specify that if you want me to help you like this, I could have got 10,000 rupees just after 1 month. But today you are giving me only rupees 4,000, and for remaining 6,000 rupees you are expecting me to wait for 5 more months. That means the money which I could have received within a period of 30 days or 31 days now, or maybe 33 days maximum, 34 days, that I am going to wait for 5 months. That means almost like 150 days. This is not good. I am going to charge you some interest. Now you think about it. Interest should be charged on which amount? On the old bill amount of 10,000, or on the part payment which is made today itself of rupees 4,000, or on the remaining amount of 6,000 which will be paid after 5 more months. Think about it in your mind. Interest should be charged by the drawer, demanded by the drawer from the drawee on which amount? On 10,000, that is the old bill amount, or on 4,000, that is the amount which is paid today with a request to cancel the old bill, or on the amount which is remaining, that is 6,000, and which will be paid after a period of 5 months. Which amount will be considered for the purpose of calculation of interest? Yes, if your answer is balance amount of 6,000, interest will be charged, then your answer is correct. Because whatever is paid today, there is no question of interest. Whatever is prolonged, whatever is after extra period of credit, that will be charged with interest. So on 6,000 we'll be charging interest. Now there is a small point to be kept in mind, which today you may find it little bit difficult, but when we are solving the problem you will find it very easy. There is nothing special in that. Today, since the problem is not there, that's why it is difficult to understand. That is, the interest can be charged or paid either together with cash on the date of cancellation itself, or interest can also be charged in the second bill. So interest will be always calculated on 6,000, but the transaction may be arranged in such a manner that the drawer will specify, okay, I am charging interest on 6,000, but this interest to be paid along with 4,000 now itself. In that case, old bill amount, add to that interest. Interest will be calculated on balance amount, not on the amount paid today. Less from that cash, including interest, because the drawer is saying, I don't want to receive interest at the end of the second bill, but I want to receive interest today itself. In that case, the cash will be including interest. So remaining amount will be called as new bill amount. On the other hand, sometimes it may so happen that the drawer will say, ठीक है, आज 4,000 देतो सो देऊन टाक. Today if you are giving me 4,000, it's okay for me. Remaining 6,000 I'm going to charge interest, and that amount will be 6,000 plus interest. So either you can charge interest along with cash received today, or you can charge interest along with the new bill. Whatever the case may be, the amount of the interest will be always calculated on the balance amount out of the old bill. Old bill minus amount received today, remaining amount is the amount on the basis of which interest will be calculated. This interest can be added either in cash which is paid today, or may be added in the second bill which is drawn. If it is difficult to understand, don't worry, because when we are solving the problem, you only will be in a position to understand how this calculation is made. It's not a difficult calculation, very easy calculation. At this moment, since we are only talking about theory, there is a chance that it may be a little bit difficult to visualize. But just keep it in mind. Just remember that interest is to be charged, and interest can be paid either together with cash on the date of cancellation itself, or interest may be paid along with the second bill. So this is the first point, wherein the drawee on his own approached the drawer, asked him to cancel the bill. That's why it is not called as dishonor now, because dishonor is a word which indicates loss of goodwill. Here the person is knowing his incapacity, the person is knowing his limitation, so he is coming on his own and he is asking the drawer to cancel the bill, and he is giving some token money today. He is also accepting some extra interest to be charged, so there is no need to diminish his goodwill. We'll accept that sometimes businesses may go up and down, but this is a person having genuine understanding. He wants a genuine support. We have given him support, we have charged interest for the same, so there is no tension. That's why the word is not dishonor, the word is cancellation. So before the due date, if it happens that the bill is not honored, it is called as cancellation. But for cancellation, what is necessary? Drawee must approach the drawer, may make a request, may make some part payment for remaining amount. He'll have to pay remaining amount plus interest. These are the things to be kept in mind for cancellation. Second thing, the drawee was waiting. Ho jayega. That was he was thinking. On the due date or before the due date, the drawee may be declared as insolvent. Now what is the meaning of insolvent? Insolvent means a person whose assets are insufficient to pay his liabilities. So on the due date, if the drawee becomes insolvent, or before the due date, the drawee becomes insolvent. On the due date or before the due date, drawee becomes insolvent, then what is to be, then it will be considered that the bill is dishonored. Now there is no need to say the bill is cancelled. But sir, it is before the due date he is insolvent. In that case also it is dishonor only, because now since he is insolvent, that means his reputation has gone down. There is no need for us to think about his goodwill and all. So we'll call it as dishonor. If on the due date he becomes insolvent, then also it is dishonor. If before the due date he is becoming insolvent, then also it is dishonor. So that's why I have used the word on or before. The wording is on or before the due date. Then what are the actions to be taken? Cancel the old bill. But sir, he has not approached us. He has not told us that he wants to cancel the old bill. It's okay. The moment drawee becomes insolvent, by operation of law, the old bill is cancelled. So as an accountant, we should remember that first entry will be cancellation of old bill. The moment you hear a news that one of the drawee has become insolvent, immediately you should understand the entry is cancellation of old bill. Sir, but he has not approached us, he has not made a request. That is okay. Cancellation requires request. Insolvency doesn't require request. Insolvency ho gaya, by default old bill is cancelled. Receive part payment if any. Sometimes it may so happen that although he is insolvent and we could not get full 10,000 rupees from the drawee, but still we got say rupees 2,000 or maybe rupees 3,000. Some amount is received from his estate. Not full amount, but full amount is received from his estate. So whatever amount is received, that you can accept. And then remaining amount in the books of drawer will be called as bad debt. The debtor has become bad. And in the books of drawee it will be called a deficiency. So for the drawer, bill amount minus amount received, remaining amount is called as bad debts. And for the drawee, bill amount minus amount received, it should be amount paid. Just a minute. It should be amount paid. In fact, now since I'm editing it, let me edit it here also. I'll change the numbers here. That will be easy for you to go for it. This is number 4 and this is number 5 and this is number 6. Okay. So only 4 and 6 numbers are changed. That's okay. So let me go back to our discussion now. Yes, here I am. So for the drawer, bill amount minus amount received will be called as bad debts, and for the drawee it will be bill amount minus amount paid, that will be called as deficiency. Clear to all of you? Okay. Now sometimes it may so happen that drawee is not insolvent. Drawee is not insolvent. So he is not approaching us also. Neither the drawee is insolvent nor he has approached us. So on the due date, either the drawer or the bank with whom the bill is discounted, or the bank with whom the bill is sent to bank for collection, or the endorsee will approach the drawee and ask for payment. Drawee is not insolvent and drawee has decided not to pay. So drawee is dishonoring although he is not insolvent, and we have come to know that drawee is unwilling to pay. This fact that drawee is unwilling to pay has come to our knowledge on the due date itself. So we can't call it as cancellation also. Cancellation is upon the request of the drawee. There is no question of cancellation from our side. This is pure dishonor. In that case, what we should do? We should cancel the old bill. We should immediately go to a government officer called as notary public. Notary public, generally they are advocates, they are lawyers, they have studied law, and plus they are having a special permission given by the government to work as notary public. They maintain a register. You need to go to the notary public. You need to show him the bill. You need to tell him that this was the due date of the bill. We had gone to the drawee and we had asked for payment from the drawee. Drawee has refused to pay. Now please note it down in your register that on so and so date this drawee did not pay. Sir, what is the use of doing this? Because afterwards, if we are going to go to the court of law for the purpose of recovering money, court of law will ask, what is the proof that you demanded the bill on due date from the drawee and drawee refused to pay? I want a proof that drawee really refused to pay. So what I'll do, the moment drawee refused to pay, I'll create a proof by going to whom? By going to the notary public. We'll ask him to register it in his register, there is a procedure how the notary public will perform, but in accountancy that is not important. When you are going to study Negotiable Instrument Act, you will understand how the notary public performs his duty of recording, whether he will talk to drawee or not, whether he will give him a notice or not. All these things are not important for our accounting, so I am ignoring that part. Just remember, drawer or the banker or the endorsee will go to the notary public, will ask the notary public to record it in his register. Notary public will not do the work in free. Notary public will charge something that is called as noting charges. Thereafter, the person who has gone to notary public, that is either the drawer or the banker or the endorsee, may also ask the notary public to give a certificate that in his register on so and so page this entry is passed or this entry is recorded with this number. So he is giving a certificate. This certificate given by notary public about the entry made in his register is called as protesting. So noting means he recording in his register, and protesting means he is giving a certificate to you that I have recorded it in my register like this. To do this work of writing in his register and to give you a certificate, he will charge something that is called as noting charges. So pay noting charges to the notary public for noting and protesting the bill. And obviously, why are we paying noting charges? It is not our hobby to pay noting charges. Why did we pay noting charges? We paid it only because the drawee did not pay on time. So we wanted to create a proof for the purpose of court proceedings. That's why we were required to pay the noting charges. So this is not our mistake that we are paying noting charges. This is the mistake of the drawee that we are required to pay noting charges. Because of him we are paying noting charges. So we are going to recover the amount of bill as well as noting charges from him. So add the noting charges to the total amount receivable from the drawee. Okay. So let me disappear from the screen for helping you to read the things. Old bill plus noting charges will be demanded from the drawee. The treatment of part payment and interest is exactly same like cancellation. Sometimes it may so happen that the problem may specify drawee dishonored, then we went to notary public and notary public then helped us to recollect some or recover maybe part of the amount, and remaining amount is after 3-4 months extra. Problems may create that kind of thing. So in that situation we will follow the technique of interest like this. Whatever is interest technique we have understood, same technique we are going to follow. How to calculate interest? Interest will be always on the remaining balance, not on the amount which is paid immediately. Okay, but both these cases are considered as cases of dishonor. When the drawee approaches the drawer and requests for cancellation before the due date, in that case it is called as cancellation. Cancellation is not mandatory, cancellation is not compulsory. If the drawee is asking for it, there is no duty on the drawer that he must cancel the bill. If the drawer is satisfied with the reasons given by the drawee, and he is already seeing that some amount is already received in part, and for the rest of the amount interest is going to be charged, if he is happy with the entire arrangement, then the drawer may cancel the bill. Otherwise there is no compulsion. Drawee, if he makes request, drawer must cancel. No, there is no such compulsion. Drawer, if he thinks it fit for his business, he may cancel the bill. Otherwise he will wait for the due date, and then it will be counted as dishonor. He'll go to notary public, thereafter he'll go to the court of law, and then he will ask the court of law to help him to recover the money from the drawee. That's how it can happen. That's how it can happen. So what have we studied? We have studied what can happen during the life. During the life, either bill is retained or discounted or sent to bank for collection or endorsed. And in all the 4 cases, what can happen? Either before the due date or after the due date. It can be honored or dishonored. If it is honored, then there are different terms which are used. If it is dishonored, then there are different terms which are used. So using all these different things, I am trying to create a single chart now. The chart of what happens during the life plus chart of what happened on the due date. Okay, so let us consider a chart. These are the 4 different things. I hope you remember the colors. These are the 4 different situations which can happen during the life. Any of one can happen. Any one of those 4 can happen. What was that? Either retained or discounted or sent to bank for collection or endorsed. Okay, and then there is a due date. So if it is before the due date and it is honored, in that case it is called as retired. So it is honored before the due date. Honored before the due date, it is called as retired. In that case you are going to get a discount. This discount is called as rebate. So the final amount will be equal to bill amount minus rebate is equal to final amount, which will have to be paid by you. Remaining amount is your discount. Or before the due date, the drawee may approach and request the drawer to cancel the bill. It is actually speaking dishonor, but since it is dishonored with a genuine heart, without any intention to give difficulties, without any intention to defraud, without any intention to cause trouble, so we are not calling it a dishonor, we are calling it as cancellation. Then bill amount plus interest is equal to final amount. Interest may be included in today's cash or in the new bill. The amount of interest can be either added to the cash which is received today itself, or it can be added to the amount of new bill. If you have not understood this last sentence, don't worry. When you are solving the problem, it is going to be easy for you. So if it happens before the due date and it is honored, we'll use the word retired. If it happens before the due date but if it is dishonored, we'll call the word, or we'll use the word cancelled for this purpose. After the due date, that is on the due date, if the bill is honored, then it is called as honored, because on the due date you are fulfilling your promise. It is called as honored. In such a situation, the amount of bill will be equal to final amount, no interest, no rebate, nothing of that sort. Okay. And on the due date or after the due date, if the bill is dishonored, now we will not call it as cancelled, but we'll call it as dishonored only. And what is the point to be kept in mind? Bill amount plus interest plus noting charges. Remember, plus noting charges. Noting charges are to be demanded from the drawee, will be equal to final amount. Interest and noting charges may be included in today's cash or in the new bill, and no noting charges if the drawee is insolvent. Which if the drawee is insolvent, there is no need to go to notary public and again get it noted and protested and again demanded from him. He is anyway not paying the original amount of bill itself. There is no question of going to notary public and again paying him and afterwards demanding it from the drawee. Drawee is anyway not paying original amount. There is no question of he paying noting charges extra. So when the bill, the drawee is insolvent, no need to go to notary public, no noting charges, cancel the bill, and whatever amount you can receive it. Remaining amount bad debts in the books of drawer, and remaining amount is deficiency in the books of drawee. So we have considered now everything in theory of bill of exchange. In the first topic, or in the first lecture, we studied format of bill of exchange. In today's lecture, we studied three different parts. First part was important terms. Second part was calculation of due date, the concept of nominal due date, legal due date. If the period is given in days or the period is given in months, how to treat that particular thing. We have solved those problems. And then we studied what can happen during the life, what can happen on the due date, or before the due date, or after the due date. Okay, so I hope you have understood all these things properly. This lecture I will request you to repeat it again and again, many number of times when you are solving the problem also. When I am solving the problem, I will also come back to this lecture many a times to refer that this diagram was used by us, and that's what we are going to calculate the things. Okay, so just ensure that this lecture is not skipped by you. A lengthy lecture, a little bit heavy lecture, but I know that students like you who are interested in studies can surely go for it properly. Okay, thank you very much. Let us meet in the next lecture for the purpose of solving the problems. Okay, thank you, bye bye. And yes, don't forget to subscribe the channel, don't forget to like the video, share it with your friends also. Let us ensure that all of us are going to get good marks in accountancy. Okay, bye bye.